Good evening, everybody. It is January 6th, 2011, and welcome to another edition of Monty's Rants. Okay, yes, this video is a rant. Sorry for the lack of video. It's kind of dark in here. In fact, it's very dark in here. There's probably no view whatsoever, so sorry about that. Tonight, though, I wanted to rant about commercial radio and the way it has gone downhill. Really has totally been it's become a joke, and just my thoughts on it all. And why are we letting people get away with this? This all came to light for me earlier this week when I read an NPR story. Well, no, I heard an NPR story about commercial radio, and it basically was saying that what you think is live may not actually be live. And what they got into really depressed me. They really showed how what has become corporate, deregulated radio has really made radio worthless. Totally worthless. I don't even understand why radio is even being allowed to exist in this way. Okay, first of all, let me give you a little story. Back in 1988, my friend of mine and I from school had the awesome pleasure of getting the chance to take a tour of the local radio station studio. Studio was of KAVL. For those of you watching this that live near where I am located, here in Palmdale, we got to tour radio station KAVL in Lancaster. The studios were in Lancaster. Thanks to the fact that the person that was giving us the tour actually worked there as a radio announcer for commercials. He's the guy that you would hear doing, some of the announcements of the commercials, doing the actual commercials themselves. So we got to go into the studio. We got to see how they do the news and how they record their stuff. They had like a nice big old cassette deck there. They had, it was really a neat setup. We even got to play around with it a little bit before they actually had to kick us out so they could record a news piece. But we got to see how it all worked, and it was really awesome. And back in those days, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a radio host. I wanted to be a live DJ. I wanted to, be in the studio or interact with listeners in some way. I knew then that's what I wanted to do. I had no idea that in less than a decade, radio would turn into utter crap, and do so very quickly. What this NPR story highlighted was a market in Texas that has really felt the effects of corporate, consolidated, crappy radio. That's what I call it. Where they used to have 23 radio stations, independently owned and operated by local operators, and had local DJs and all that good stuff. Now they have, of those 23 radio stations, only one in the whole market is still independently owned and has live DJs. And this one media company owns, what'd they say, 6 radio stations in the same city? And of those 6, only one still has full-time live local DJs. The others, they rely on DJs out of a whole different city, and they may not even be live. This is what really got me. the radio DJ that you think is live may not be. You know, you especially might think it's live when they announce a contest, right? You know, be the 9th caller at such and such a number and tell us the right number and you win. Well, you think, great, I'll call in. The song's playing, you know, perfect time to call. Well, guess what? The person you talk to may not even be the DJ at all. And that's what this story was highlighting. They were showing, among other things, that even a live call-in contest can be spliced together and made to seem live. That's sad. Why can't it just be live? You know, like it used to be. Here's what the story said. In their example, you know, the caller called in, and a production assistant, not the DJ, but a production assistant, answered the call. And, you know, I was like, yeah, what's your name? You know, and do you know how much money is in our jackpot today? And then they guess, and then they're like, okay, thank you very much. And, you know, they're like, no, sorry, you're too low. You know, they didn't win. But then, that's not where the story ends. The production assistant, as soon as the call hangs up, goes to work. She takes her voice, splices it out of the call, and replaces it with the DJ's voice that's on the air, that's in a whole different area, that's been pre-recorded. Within 4 minutes of the listener calling in to make their guess on the contest, they suddenly find themselves listening to themselves. They find themselves hearing themselves on the radio playing the contest, but with a DJ they've never once spoken to. Now, while it's kind of cool to say, "Yay, that's the DJ did this," they didn't do that. The listener, I would think, would be outraged. I mean, I never talked to that person. If I was doing this, if I was on that contest, I would be outraged. I'd be like, I never talked to that DJ. That was not me. I mean, that was me, but it wasn't me. That wasn't who I was talking to. You know, and they play it and make it seem like I was talking to that DJ. That's a lie. That's not how it went down. And they want you to think that that's what happened. Why can't they just be honest and have live radio the way it used to be, the way it should be? You know, most radio stations, like I'll give you an example. Out here in this market, where I live now, here in the Palmdale area, where I've always lived, I'm not even sure. There's only like 2 radio stations of the, 4 or so, 5 stations that I can think of, that even still have live DJs, and even then I don't know if they're live anymore. You know, all the other radio stations just simulcast other stations, or they just, play music like Jack FM or Bob FM, which doesn't even need a DJ. And my thought process there is, why even have a radio station on the air if you can't even have local personality to it? Why not? These companies like Clear Channel and all that, they want people. They take pride in not having local DJs. Like, they're excited to lay people off. They're excited, in this economy of all things. Now, granted, this has been going on since long before the recession, but it's been going on since about the mid-90s when I started to notice it. Around probably 96, 97 is when it really started to happen. And really, over the last decade, it's really become way too noticeable. You'll have radio stations that have been one format for 20 years with live DJs and everything. Suddenly, it switches format entirely, and there's no more DJs. No more live content. How many radio stations do you know that actually do live remote broadcasts? Remember those? When you could actually go out to an event, like a nightclub or the fairgrounds or some kind of local gathering, and meet your favorite DJ and maybe possibly be live on the air? Remember that? When all the radio stations would do that and you could actually have a shot at being on any one of them, maybe possibly all of them. I remember doing that. I was on the radio live once. That was fun. You can't do that now. And that's supposed to be a good thing? If I want to listen to automated no DJ type radio, let's see, I've got this thing called an iPhone that's right here, and it's got music on it, and all I have to do is plug it into the car stereo, and I've got automated music of my choice that's all what I like, picked by me, mind you, and, there's nothing to it. It's just like the regular radio stations. They play the same 20 songs over and over and over again. Whatever happened to the variety? Remember when radio stations used to play variety? You could call in and request a song from the 90s and they might just play it. You could actually get to know the DJ and kind of have a personality, and maybe you'd become friends with the DJ. Whatever happened to those days? Why is it so important that we not have that anymore? I would be perfectly happy being able to have my own FM radio station here in Palmdale and be able to set it up and have live content. Of course I can't. I'm not a corporate entity, and I'm not sure what's involved in LPFM, but if I could, I would love to put up an FM transmitter. Heck, I'm into radio. I love radio technology anyway, so hey, that'd be cool. Put up an FM transmitter where it serves the valley here. Put it, have live DJs, and have a ball with it. Have live talent on the air. Is there something wrong with that? Why are we allowing this to happen? What is the advantage here? People will say, you get more advertisers that way with one company. They can have more radio station advertisers. Great, it's all about the advertisers. What about the listeners who get tired of hearing the same 4 songs over and over again? What about them, huh? Without them, you don't have a radio station. Well, at least that's what I thought. I'm not so sure anymore. Now there's no personality to your favorite radio station anymore. You get the same 10 songs over and over and over again, and you may not even have a DJ, and even when you do, it's probably not live. And how sad is it that I know at least 2 of our local radio stations in this market can't even be local. They have to simulcast other out-of-area radio stations. Now, I don't mind. I'm not against simulcasting, but they didn't used to have to do that. They didn't used to be simulcast radio stations. 105.5. That used to be a Christian radio station. It's now, what is it? I think it now simulcasts Kiss FM in Los Angeles. We can hear Kiss FM on most radios, so why do we need a simulcast out here? Doesn't make any sense. I really, really wish somebody would explain to me why radio has to be the way it is. Can we change it? I would think DJs would be outraged. First of all, they're losing their jobs. That can't be a good prospect for anybody. A lot of people dreamed of being a DJ. Why take that dream away from them? What is wrong with being a local DJ? That's what I want to know. And after I heard that NPR story about a radio station in Texas, how a contest, supposedly live contest, can't even be live. It's done by a production assistant who splices everything together within 4 minutes. And the whole, personality, get to know your community part of radio, that's gone. No radio station out here does live events anymore that I know of. Anybody explain what the advantage of this is? Why can't we have local radio anymore? Can we have local radio anymore? If I want to set up an FM transmitter and have live DJs, what's involved in getting an FM broadcast license? And I'm not talking anything fancy. I'm talking maybe a 100-watt transmitter, maybe even less than that. I've got a friend could get it put up on a hill that would overlook the valley here, and we could make a studio link here in my bedroom for all I care, and have live DJs on the air. Can that happen? What's involved in getting an FM broadcast license? I'm not talking 50,000 watt monster here. Just something that'll serve the community. Someone that'll serve the market out here. Have we lost touch with reality here? How can these companies honestly say, oh, I'm glad we got rid of our DJs. I'm glad that the local community doesn't have any personality with their radio stations anymore. Wow. I mean, do listeners not care? Why don't all the radio stations just go off the air? All of them. Every one of them. Every single one. Listeners probably won't notice. And another thing I thought of, what about in the case of a natural disaster? Let's say we have a major earthquake that hits this area, and this is possible. Let's say we have an 8.4 earthquake centered right here on the San Andreas Fault in Palmdale. Okay, that's going to require local talent. Local. Now, granted, LA is going to be covering it, but for people wanting to know what's going on in Palmdale, Lancaster, they're going to want to turn on their local radio. But are there any local DJs to go live on, say, 105.5 or 97.7 to broadcast live, or 103.1, which simulcasts Star 98 in Los Angeles now? Are there any live DJs that would be able to go live on the air in the event of a major disaster like that and keep the community up to date? Second by second, truly live. I'm not even talking edited here. I'm talking the true definition of live. Remember what live used to mean? Live meaning up to the second. At most maybe delayed by 10 seconds due to, making sure you don't censor your, you can bleep out stuff when needed. But that's it. Okay? That's what live should mean. Not live meaning live 4 minutes ago that was spliced together by a production assistant that the caller never even talked to the DJ in question. I mean, God. Yeah, even on talk shows you have call screeners, but those are different. You still get on the air to the DJ if you get through. Okay? That's different. You need call screeners to prevent abuse and stuff. But live DJs on a music station, you what happened to personality in radio? Even satellite radio doesn't have that anymore. What do we have to do to get our radio stations back to the way they were? Can we set up our own community radio station? That's why these pirate radio stations have set up in the past that the FCC's fined people, I'm sure, because people are tired of what, the hoops they have to probably go through to set up a commercial station, and they want our old radio back. They want radio the way it used to be. And yeah, you have internet radio, and that's great. And I love internet radio. But internet radio is not in every car. If I get in my friend's 1997 Honda Civic, he ain't going to have no internet radio in there. So, thoughts, comments, welcome on this. I want to know what people think on this. On this craziness that this is radio, and why is it being allowed to be like this? What's causing it to be like this? And how can we stop it? Can we stop it? Why? Oh, how did we let this happen? And I just can't believe the listeners can't have a say in this. I know I want community radio. I want personal DJs. I want to be able to go out to events and be able to say hi to my local DJs and have personality to the local radio station. Because right now, most local radio stations are no different than what I could do with Pandora. In fact, I could do more with Pandora. Because I can at least pick what I want there. I can't call into my favorite radio station and request a song, because likely they're not going to play it anyway. If it ain't on their playlist, they ain't going to play it. This is why I like internet radio, but commercial radio still has its place, I think. As far as the commercial FM band, I think we need to get talent back on the band. We need to get personal radio stations on the air, and we need to be able to be allowed to do it. It's funny, they deregulate radio like crazy, but they still won't allow people to put up their own personal FM radio stations for this type of thing. I don't get it. Anybody have any thoughts? I'd be very interested. Feel free to leave me a video response, a comment, or both. I'll be anxious to hear what you have to say. Thank you.